Every morning at 5 a.m., the world was silent. No traffic, no noise, no competition. While others slept, one poor man sat on the edge of his broken bed, staring at the ceiling, hungry but hopeful. Didn't wake up early because he was disciplined. He woke up early because he was desperate to change his life. That single habit, waking up at 5 a.m., didn't just change his routine, it changed his destiny forever. Asterisk, the man owned nothing that the world respected. His clothes were worn thin, his shoes had cracks in their soles, and his pockets were always empty. Every day was a battle just to survive. But at exactly 5 a.m., when the streets were silent and the sky was still dark, something changed. Hour belonged only to him. No one demanded his time, no one judged him, and no one distracted him. For the first time in his life, he felt rich not in money, but in minutes. He would sit near the small window of his room where the morning air was cold and honest. With an old notebook and a borrowed pen, he began writing ideas, thoughts, and plans he had never dared to think about before. He read pages from torn books he had found or been given, reading slowly, sometimes repeating lines to understand them. He didn't know it then, but his mind was quietly expanding while the rest of the world slept. Those early hours taught him something powerful. Life had taken almost everything from him, but it could not take away his willingness to learn. Morning, he added a small brick to a future he could not yet see. One word learned, one idea understood, one plan written, tiny steps that felt useless at the time. But they were not useless. They were foundations. At 5 a.m., he wasn't competing with anyone stronger, richer, or luckier than him. He was only competing with the man he was yesterday. Slowly, his fear began to shrink. His thinking grew clearer. Problems that once felt impossible started to look solvable. That quiet time gave him confidence without noise and strength without applause. Years later, people would ask how he changed his life with no resources. He would smile and think of those silent mornings, because when life gave him nothing, 5 a.m. gave him time in. Time gave him a way out. Asterisk, some mornings, waking up at 5 a.m. felt harder than carrying stones all day. His body ached from work, his eyes burned from lack of sleep, and the warmth of his thin blanket tempted him to stay still. No one would notice if he slept a little longer. No one was watching. And yet that was the exact reason he forced himself to rise. In that quiet struggle, something inside him was being built. He didn't wake up feeling motivated. Most days, motivation was nowhere to be found. What pushed him out of bed was a promise he had made to himself on his worst day, the day he realized that waiting for life to change was destroying him. Every time he stood up before the sun, he was choosing his future over his comfort. That choice was painful, but it was honest. There were mornings when hunger made his hands shake, when doubt whispered that none of this effort would matter. Still, he washed his face, took a deep breath, and began. He trained his mind to move, even when his emotions refused to cooperate. Slowly, discipline replaced hope. He stopped relying on how he felt and started relying on what he had decided. That daily battle changed the way he carried himself. He walked differently. He spoke with more control. Even his silence had strength in it. Discipline was shaping him long before success ever touched his life. While others waited for the right moment, he became the kind of man who created moments. When opportunity finally appeared, small, unexpected, and easy to miss, he was ready. He didn't panic. He didn't hesitate. The habits formed in the darkness of early mornings guided him naturally. Success did not shock him, because discipline had already prepared him for it. Long before the world believed in him, he had trained himself to never quit on his own potential. Asterisk, nothing changed quickly, and that was the hardest part. Days passed, then weeks, and his life looked the same from the outside. He was still poor, still struggling, still waking up to the same problems. If someone had watched him for a single day, they would have said nothing special was happening. But consistency doesn't announce itself. It works quietly, stacking invisible results on top of each other. Every morning at 5 a.m., he showed up. Not perfectly, not with excitement, but with commitment. Some days his focus was sharp, other days his mind wandered. Still, he stayed. He learned that consistency wasn't about doing more, it was about refusing to stop. Those repeated mornings slowly reshaped his thinking. He began to see patterns, understand mistakes, and correct his path. What once felt confusing started to make sense. Months later, something unexpected happened. He reacted differently to life. Problems that used to break him now challenged him. He became calmer under pressure and patient in uncertainty. The poor man who once felt powerless was turning into someone dependable, even to himself. Oh, the real change wasn't in his income yet. It was in his identity. People around him didn't notice the transformation until results appeared. They saw the job offer, the improvement, the confidence. They called it luck. They called it sudden success. They never saw the mornings when he fought sleep, doubt, and fear alone. They never saw the discipline repeated so many times that it became natural. Consistency had done its work. It turned effort into habit and habit into character. One day, as the sun rose and the city woke up, he realized he was no longer chasing a different life. He had become a different person. And once a person changes, destiny has no choice but to follow.